You got to change your habits or change your goals.
Muay Thai is 50% running and 30% laundry.
Keep working on your game. Keep innovating.
I'm always winning.
What is your pro tip? Hello and welcome to another episode of Pro Tip Conversations. Excited to have with us today Kumar Erramilli. Kumar is the Chief Technology Officer at Acto. In addition to being a technologist and an entrepreneur, Kumar is also a venture capitalist and, more importantly, for the sake of this podcast, an avid cricketer. Kumar is the founding partner at Cayman Ventures, and he's also been a core member of Victoria Park Cricket Club's Super 9 team for many years. Today, we're going to chat with Kumar about his journey as an athlete, as well as his entrepreneurial investment journey. So without further ado, welcome, Kumar.
Thanks, Anish. Hello, Pro Tip listeners. Glad to be on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for accepting the invite. I know you're a busy guy with a lot of things going on. And obviously, we kind of go way back. I played under 19 Canada cricket with your brother, Anand, and, shout out to Anand.
Talent, yes.
Yeah, definitely. And, known you for a long time. And so first of all, thanks for jumping on. And so why don't we get started at the root of everything? How did you get started in cricket?
Yeah, I mean, look, like every other Indian, I guess it is in our blood. It is a religion for us. It's in our DNA. I was born in Hyderabad in India, grew up there, and of course, grew up playing cricket on the streets with my cousins, my family, my friends, and on the rooftops, roads, wherever possible, like before final exams with the examination pads and like a aluminum foil rolled up. The same cricket stories that I'm sure a lot of the even current Indian cricketers grew up with, same thing. And then, my dad thought, okay, you know what, let's give this guy a shot. And he put me in a cricket coaching academy when I was probably 6. And that was run by Mr. Mohammad Azharuddin himself.
Wow.
So that's where my passion for cricket grew. And rest is history. And then following that, my dad, thanks to him, he, by the way, never held a bat in his life. Was always an avid cricket supporter.
Yeah.
Took me to the 1996 World Cup match, the first World Cup match in Hyderabad. That was West Indies versus Zimbabwe.
Amazing.
I saw Heat Streak gunning in, bowling at Brian Lara full pace, and Lara scored, I think, a 40-odd or 50 in that game.
Yeah.
Just the ambiance in the stadium, the passion for cricket. Man, what else do you need, right? Like, that's what got me going. And that's the start. I guess that's the birth of cricket, my cricket journey and my cricket passion.
So what age, I guess, did you move to Canada? And so how long were you in that academy with Azhar? And
so funny enough, it wasn't long. Like, I was only part of that coaching academy maybe for about 3 or 4 years. After that, we, in fact, some of my years I grew up in Russia, in Moscow.
Okay.
So moved to Russia and Moscow for about 4 to 5 years. And then from there, went back to India just for an year because my dad got the PR to Canada.
Sure.
And I was in kind of like a crack where I didn't go to school during that year, nor did I move to Canada yet. So I was in India for about like 8 months to a year.
Yeah.
And during that period, when I went back from Russia, I only played cricket. I didn't study. I didn't do anything. I only played cricket and I did computers. Okay. So it kind of worked out that now I'm an entrepreneur and a CTO.
Yeah.
I play cricket for hobby and passion and invest in it. So It kind of worked out that way. So that year was just only cricket and tech. You
got a fast track in a year's worth of experience, right? Like that most people don't get over like 3-4 years, right? So so I guess, did you play other sports as well growing up, or was cricket the main one?
I did. Thankfully, in our family, there is a bit of like racket sports in the blood. So I played badminton as well as squash.
Okay.
At a pretty high level, competitive level. So I played national squash at the university level, representing Waterloo. And then I played national badminton as well, representing Waterloo. So both I played at a pretty high level.
Cool. And you said, so when you moved to Canada, did you immediately, find a club, start playing right away, or was it more focused on academics and, getting into that space?
When we moved to Canada, the first thing was, there's a phys ed in the high school, right? So we saw every other sport but cricket.
Exactly.
So thought you know what? There's a lot of South Asians in Canada. A lot of my friends are passionate about cricket. We watch like the World Cups together. I thought, why aren't we playing cricket together? So kind of started cricket in high school at Stephen Leacock that way. Work with one of the teachers who was, of course, again from South Asian community, and he had passion to organize the team together. So started practicing that way. Found a ground in McNichol,
Right.
and the birth of that was the birth of like Victoria Park cricket, especially in the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
And so ran into VP through McNichol
Yeah.
cricket ground, and that was the start.
Yeah.
I guess that was the start of
A long relationship.
long relationship.
Yeah. It's funny because when I moved to Canada in '99, for the first 3 years, I didn't even know cricket existed in Canada. I'd only seen it that, Canada's, Bagai and all these guys are playing. I'd see it in the back of the Toronto Star clippings, like a little small article
Right.
about cricket. But then, yeah, it was kind of similar where it was at my school that somebody organized a tape ball thing and got into it, right? I guess, who were your sporting heroes growing up?
I mean, it's, I guess, obvious and redundant to say the one in your wall on the background there. That's, I guess, it's a given for every Indian. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Sachin Tendulkar, just his class in terms of how well he conducted himself, his ethics, and of course his talent, sheer talent and grit towards the sport, motivated me a lot growing up. Also, growing up, I had like other sporting idols as well, like other than cricket.
Mm-hmm.
Federer was massive.
Yeah.
Just in humility and humbleness, even at the top, that
Yeah.
was huge. And I think that is essential for everyone to learn as an athlete, because it's cyclical. You go up, you come down, and there are times but when you're up and you're humble, that's the best thing. So yeah, I would say Federer and like Sachin probably growing up, but then during the peak of my career, of course, Mr. Mahendra Singh Dhoni,
Right.
the way he led India and the way he just is as a person, his humility and his humbleness and his leadership on the ground, the way he conducts himself and the team, that was very truly inspirational. And
Mm-hmm.
during my entrepreneurship journey and as well as my cricketing journey, I used his ethos, his thesis into my personal life as well. That led a lot of growth on my side, I would say.
And then I guess, how has cricket impacted your life?
A lot, man. I always say this to my kids and as well as my family and to my closest friends and people that love listening to me. I always tell them that cricket has taught me how to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't realize that when you play sports, it's humbling.
Mm-hmm.
There's always someone better than you. There's always someone who's going to have a better day than you. And you need to, and it teaches you a lot how to take a loss. You need to come back from it. There's another day, you come back, and then you get better, you fight harder, you learn from your experience. And I guess that's one of the key lessons for me through cricket.
Yeah.
And second is being part of a team.
Yeah.
Look, I played squash, badminton, they're individual sports.
Mm-hmm.
But teamwork is everything, right? Cricket truly, Sachin, despite all the weight that he had on his shoulders, still needed the Dravids, the Lakshmans, and Gangulis,
Absolutely.
and everyone else around him. So I think that those are the two big lessons, that just how to take a loss and how to be part of a team. That was very important.
Awesome. So I guess let's fast track your journey a little bit. So you found Victoria Park Cricket Club, started playing there, and you said that was around the high school time, right? So
Yes.
Now you're graduating high school, going to Waterloo and everything, and I'm assuming you were in a co-op program at Waterloo as well. So,
yes.
Which means this was a choice I had to make as well, right? Which is, do I go to Waterloo and join a co-op program and give up cricket, or do I continue, playing cricket? How did you come to that point, choice, right? Like, what was the focus, or what was the decision-making process there for you?
Yeah, great question. I was in Waterloo and I did take the co-op program, but somehow I found a way to keep cricket in my life. Especially, there were co-op terms in Waterloo where we started indoor cricket in their packed gym.
Nice.
So it's their gymnasium there. So indoor cricket, for me, cricket was just so much of a passion that it didn't have to be hardball, gear up, go out, and the weather, all that. So it wasn't like that. Even if it's stick cricket and even if it's book cricket, I'm happy and content that my
Yeah.
mind is occupied with the sport itself.
Yeah.
So found a way to play cricket indoors through tape ball, and it was an incredible ecosystem that we built in Waterloo for tape
Yeah.
ball. And of course, because of all the the Indians, the Pakistanis, the Sri Lankans, the West Indians, everyone coming to Waterloo, there was a thriving cricketing community, and we played cricket during the winter there, then translated it into college cricket and as well as university cricket in the summers.
Yeah.
That's how we kept busy. And while I was in Toronto, if I was doing co-op, then I would just be practicing with my Victoria Park boys here, right? So always cricket was part of the life, and
In one capacity or another.
yeah, man, we always I had to make time. Like there was no, and family knew that taking cricket out was not a choice,
Not an option.
was not an option. So it always had to be there.
Yeah, it's funny. I think because you made that choice, maybe Canada under 19 lost out on a good prospect. But
Oh, man.
at the same time, obviously you've had a ton of success in your entrepreneurship journey, which we'll go into now.
Yes.
So especially in the early, I'm assuming you were around early 2000s was when you were in university, or early to mid 2000s, right? So cricket as a viable career in Canada wasn't necessarily there for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a select few could have gotten something out of the game. So was that a driving factor for you to decide that, okay, you know what, I am going to focus on, my this technology side of things and building my startup and all those aspects? Or were you still able to find enough time
Yeah, good question. I was still able to find enough time. If I was to pursue both, I would have been able to do that. I think for me, a larger driving factor behind was growing up as a kid. My aim was always to create a larger impact in life through whether that be technology, whether that be through cricket, whatever the medium is, right? So I thought personally, coming to Canada, if I was to land a larger impact, especially with like a lot of people changing their lives, I thought being in tech, and probably eventually becoming an entrepreneur and having my own company would probably be the best avenue. That's what led me to pursuing Waterloo, and just pursuing computer science, and that was like more of the driving factor. But if I really wanted to, I could have balanced cricket as well. And also maybe somewhere in my mind, like I never knew, or I never thought I was that much of a talent or that good to really just outshine in cricket. So yeah, I mean, I guess like a combination of things, but my larger driving force was how do I create the best impact and the most impact in life, and that was through tech and
That's
entrepreneurship.
awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty incredible that at that young age you had that clarity, right? And I know I definitely didn't. I went to university, didn't even know what I wanted to do when I went. So that's pretty amazing. Yeah. So tell us a bit about your entrepreneurship journey. Obviously, Acto is your second venture, third venture.
Third,
Right?
yeah.
So yeah, tell us how you got started, and yeah, take it away.
Sure. Yeah. So as I said, when I moved from Moscow back to India, and I was there for a year, and I was just only playing cricket and doing tech, I was part of this internet like learning and tech course at that time. That was in 1995, and that was when Yahoo and like Google and all these were just coming bursting onto the scene. The word internet was hype, like it was the buzz around the world.
Yeah.
And Microsoft came up with a new version of Windows.
Yeah.
It was like GUI to like a DOS-based operating system. It was the thing. That was kind of like the thing in that world at that time. And what really inspired me was how it could serve the needs of people on a day-to-day. How machines were just like serving people at that time, and that was my driving force behind. Okay, I want to do something in tech. Then somehow, I mean, I had a strong math background, so good logic. So that led me to developing small programs, even in my day-to-day life. For example, if I was to play a game, I would tell my parents that let me just develop the game and I'd just play it. Right? That's all. So I
Nice.
would write like simple, like basic games, math-based, physics-based,
Right.
and then I would write like the games myself. And then my parents, of course, wouldn't have an objection playing those games if I wrote them, right? So that's how I started my just tech career, and then I wanted to pursue that. And in '96, then my dad bought me my first PC, allowed me to pursue like more and more, learn more of the tech. And then then went to Waterloo, came here, did well in comp sci in my high school as well. Went to Waterloo, pursued that. When my true pivotal point was when I worked for RIM. I worked for RIM in the BlackBerry monitoring services team.
Mm-hmm.
That team was an acquisition. At that time, RIM was on the high,
Mm-hmm.
and which is BlackBerry now.
Yeah.
So RIM acquired this small company, and I was reporting directly to the CEO of that company.
Interesting. Okay.
And he was exiting at that point. It was a $44 million acquisition, and then he was exiting, and he was my inspiration to becoming an entrepreneur and saying, okay, how you can really create an impact, right, through your tech. And also on the personal side, I asked him, okay, Charles, what's your goal after this, right? You're getting a decent exit. And this was in 99. It was in 2009. Sorry, 2009. And he said, I'm becoming a part-time chopper pilot. So he's taking like helicopter lessons, and he's going to build a startup around air taxiing. So people that can afford a helicopter ride from Toronto to Montreal and didn't have the time to either fly or travel or whatever. Like he would just do like some sort of a air taxi. But anyways, I don't know if that panned out or not.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he had the now liberty to make personal choices and pursue personal dreams that would motivate him on the personal side, but also, have the capital and the financial freedom, and also have created something in terms of legacy.
Mm-hmm.
All three kind of converged, and that led me to start thinking of being about my own entrepreneur. And so 2009, I started my first company called Company ID. Co-founded this with a fellow gentleman from Jordan named Rod Al-Khatib. And we were passionate about creating something for companies to put up their what their offerings or what their services were, kind of like a LinkedIn before LinkedIn companies existed. Yeah. So pivoted into writing an patentable algorithm, then eventually ended up selling that to an acquirer. And then while that happened, a lot of learnings, a lot of pivots, and then started my second company called Paper Dodo along with one of my friends that I play squash with, Shane Songki. Lots of learnings there as well. Partnered with a company called Geotab, and then we raised a round of funding, and then ended up exiting my shares there to start Acto in 2015. Cool. And then I would say successful exits with a lot of learnings, and then with Acto, the largest one yet, the largest team, and everything rest is history.
Awesome. And I guess what were the learnings that you had in the first two startups that you were then able to bring to Acto? Because as you mentioned, Acto is obviously the largest team. It's had a ton of growth over the years. What were you able to apply?
Yeah, man. I'll tell you this, and this statement might not sit very humbly, but entrepreneurs are just a different breed. I would think that, anyone can be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I think some of the people are just cut out to be entrepreneurs. And when I say entrepreneur, I'm not talking about just entrepreneurs that start companies and then eventually give up or fail. I'm talking about entrepreneurs that fail, but then stand again and then fight, sustain, pivot, take a blow in the gut, and then come back and stand again. So it's like a boxing match, right? Mm-hmm. There are so many rounds that you have to go before you could just feel like, okay, you know what? I feel like I've done it, right? So that's what the big learning was. And same thing, that's why I say cricket taught me how to take a loss, right? It's the same thing that carried over in my entrepreneurship and my career. You have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to re-strategize. You have to be able to learn that, okay, and accept that I messed up. Okay, so what now? What do I do now, right? So how do you come back from it? And that's what true entrepreneurship is. If the road is smooth and like there's no hurdles,
Everybody would be doing
everyone's
it.
going to drive on it, everyone's going to
Yeah.
walk on it, everyone's going to
Everybody's
run
gonna
on
do
it, right?
Yeah.
But that's the biggest learning, and that was the biggest, humbling factor that I learned from my two previous companies, and came to terms with it. You're not going to make all correct decisions, you're not going to choose all correct partners, there's always something or the other that's going to go wrong, but what do you do about it, right? How do you come back from it? How do you go to another investor? One investor is going to shit on you. How are you going to go to another investor and pitch your same idea? So that's what entrepreneurship is, and that's what led to kind of like a success in my third company.
Cool. Yeah, it's so funny you're talking about taking blows, and it seems like when you're playing cricket or when you're batting or even in an innings in a 50 over match in cricket, you have those highs and lows where sometimes you have to give your respect to the bowler and like let him be on the high end and just stay there. Staying in the game is more important than winning immediately, right? Like if you're in there long enough. Same thing what Tony says. If I don't blink at till the very end, I know that I'll outdo the other person because I'm there still, right? So yeah, it's incredible how you can draw these parallels and learn so much from sport and apply in both directions, right?
Absolutely.
That was going to be my next question: is what you learned from sports and that you can apply in entrepreneurship. And vice versa. I guess one other question I have is, how do you balance now? Even now, I know last year you were playing Super 9, which is the highest division in Canada. How do you balance being a founder at a high growth startup with playing competitive cricket on the weekends, and you also have a family and everything else too? So
yeah, I mean, stating the obvious, time management, prioritization, absolutely, right? One of the things that sometimes people tend to overlook is pick and choosing battles.
Yeah.
You have to be able to really, okay, is this a hill that I'm going to die on? Like you got to really pick and choose your battles, whether that's in your personal life, whether that's on your work life. There's a give. Like you have to always think about like the trade-offs, right? Sometimes people overlook that, and then also surrounding yourself with competent people, man. Like honestly, I wouldn't be able to find success in my work and my company if I don't have competent, skilled, and passionate and culturally driven people on my company side. And similarly on my personal side, I want friends, people that are supportive, people that are okay with me making mistakes, but see at the end, light at the end of the tunnel, like what are we trying to do here? So that's important on both sides, I think, and that's another, I would say, kind of like a lesson, and I would like to share with people. So don't overlook the fact that you always need people surrounding you that are like looking to lift you up and not always trying to put you down, right? So I think those were some things that these are the things that help me like really balance my work, my cricket, my investments, my ventures. But I just also like not overstating and not overlooking the fact that I have a great companion in my wife. My kids are brilliant, like very understanding. There are times where I'd had to travel for work and I would not see them for weeks, but my wife is super supportive and happy and like just thrilled for me to do and pursue what I have to. And it's a reciprocation. I do the same with her as she pursues her. She's a fashion designer as well as she works for a fintech company. So she has a couple of passion projects of her own. And when she does that, then I have to, reciprocate and do the same with the family. So these are a few things that really like help me balance my cricket, my work, and my investments.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess speaking about your investments, tell us about the vision behind Cayman Ventures.
Mm-hmm. Again, going back to my story, when I was a kid, Microsoft was the thing, and that was the company to really. Apple wasn't really there yet. So I thought, you know what? When I grow up, I'm gonna have a company called Ksoft.
Okay.
No matter what happens, like I said, I'll have a software company called Ksoft, right? And I even used to, funny enough, I used to have these white T-shirts, and I used to write like just Ksoft logo on it, and just be like as if it was this was me when I was a kid, and I think that was in grade 6 or 7 or whatever that was. Right? So that was always a dream, is to have like something of my own that I embodied. And so that was like the inception of the idea of like something with K. And then 2018, after my second exit, and I was financially a bit fluid, and also with Acto, we raised our Series A, got like some liquidity there. Then I thought, okay, it's time for me to set up something of my personal brand. And I started the brand called K-Man. And it was an umbrella corp. Under K-Man, there's a bunch of subsidiaries. And so K-Man Ventures is my passion for investing back into startups. So happy to share that now I have about 26 companies in my portfolio there.
Nice.
That I've invested in. And then through K-Man Ventures, I'm also an LP in 4 major Canadian funds as an investor. I wanted to diversify my investments. So then K-Man created like K-Man Advisory. So where I would pick and choose in a select few companies where I'm an advisor for. And then I created K-Man Cricket for all my cricket investments. So I was really looking for giving back to cricket capital wise and just motivating some of the cricketers around the world. Looking at different cricketing products, right, from T10 leagues to T20 leagues to even potentially like IPL and stuff. And then Fairbreak, I stumbled upon Fairbreak, fell in my lap, and I really was moved and driven by the founder's vision, Sean Martin, his vision on creating gender equality with the sport, and as well as geo equality with the sport, where putting spotlight on associate countries along with the test playing nations and having them play the competition at the same parity level. Especially playing cricket in Canada, I know what it's like being an associate nation and not getting the same spotlight as your test playing nations. So I was really moved and touched by Fairbreak's ethos and the mission by what they were driven. So then created the K-Man Falcons brand through Fairbreak and invested in them. And now I'm the proud owner of K-Man Falcons, which is a women's cricket international team franchise, part of Fairbreak League. And, happy to share that some of the top cricketers and the women cricketers in the world are part of the K-Man Falcons franchise.
Awesome. And I know there was a tournament was it in Hong Kong where
the
team competed?
First edition, the first edition for Fairbreak happened in Dubai in the Sheikh Zayed Stadium, right after the T20 World Cup that happened in 2021. And then in 2022, Fairbreak happened, the first edition. And then the second edition of Fairbreak happened in Hong Kong. And both the editions, K-Man Falcons came to finals and we were runners up. Again, another opportunity to take a loss and learn from it. But I was super proud of my team and just super thrilled to be part of this whole women cricketing franchise. So
I guess what's different now that you're you own this team versus when you were playing? What's during the game, what's your mindset like when the game is going on? And
look, somewhere like maybe there's a 2% or 3%, there's always that itch that you just want to jump on the field and like also want to play. But I guess one of the key differences is you rely, again, people, right? Like you rely on the staff, the coaching staff, the management staff, the team, the skipper. You rely on them to make all the effective decisions, and you learn from it. You learn how they're so good at their job. They're so good at what they do. Our team skipper is Susie Bates. I mean, she's led so many franchises in the world. She's led New Zealand for, I think she's probably the most capped player, if not like the second most capped player in New Zealand. So overall, like just watching these international stars and learning from them, that was a big like learning for me as a team owner. And then just at an international level, being a team owner and what it's like to have ICC, the PMOA, ICC, like the anti-fraud, anti-money laundering, like just the whole system. There was a lot of learning there. How you cannot be interacting with the team during the matches, before the matches, after the matches. All of that was new, man. All of that was learning. And then just, man, I was telling my dad, being in Sheikh Zayed Stadium in the audience stand
Mm-hmm.
when I was watching that versus like being an owner and I was in the royal box where the Sheikh would go and sit. So I was in the royal box as a team owner watching. It was a proud moment, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's incredible. And then, so what's next, I guess, for Cayman Falcons? What tournaments are on the horizon?
Yeah, so some really exciting things coming up. So Fairbreak, we're hoping that um, eventually the vision of the founder was similar to Grand Slam. There are 4 major cricketing events for Fairbreak throughout the world. So we're hoping within the next 5 years we get to that vision. And so Falcons will be proudly part of all editions there. And there are some behind the scenes, we're working on some pretty exciting stuff, which I cannot talk about or announce right now, but please stay tuned. Follow the Cayman Falcons Insta handle, and you will hopefully, soon find out some exciting new updates coming up.
Amazing. And then I guess in terms of your investment decisions, so, whether it's buying or owning the Cayman Falcons or your other ventures, you mentioned 20 odd portfolio companies that you have, what are some of your considerations when you make these decisions? Are they investments of the heart, or, is there a lot of, number crunching and things that happen along the way?
Yeah, a bit of both. I think what I lead with first is values, and that's how I was raised. That's how I grew up. That's how I pursued my passion in entrepreneurship, and that's what I look for in entrepreneurs as well. Like I said, entrepreneurship is not cut out for everyone. Everyone can start an idea and throw money at it and like pursue it, but there are a few that sustain and like really know how to scale that. So what I look for in some of these founders and entrepreneurs when I'm backing them is, do you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur, right? Look, by the way, man, like you never, again, just learning from the experiences, there were companies that failed in my investments as well, right? Like it's not like all of them are gonna succeed and all of them are gonna be successful. So what I look for is the founder's mindset, how they're thinking about the problem that they're solving, or how are they thinking about the market that they're in, and then just a thesis around their startup, like what is the driving force behind their idea, and on the number crunching side, looking at the TAM that they're addressing, the total addressable market, their revenue models, how are they thinking about monetizing the idea, and lastly, how are they thinking about creating an impact, right? Like what kind of impact are they looking to creating through their company? So these are some of the things that I'm looking at, and also from a holistic view, I do look at the industry that they're part of. So my focus lately has been in deep tech, and your Gen AIs, like your deep AI models. That's been my focus, and I've been focused heavily in clean tech, agro tech, mining. So they were like some of the rudimentary, more foundational industries that I've been looking at. So my investments have been diversified in all these industries, but more in terms of answering your question succinctly, it's more around just the values and what drives these founders, and looking at the overlap with how Cayman thesis is, right?
Yeah. And I guess, are you generally looking at early stage ventures, or is it any?
Yeah, there were a few investments. Most of my investments are early stage, and the check sizes I would write are probably anywhere from 50,000 to $500,000, right? So they vary between that. And then in terms of some companies that I'm part of, has been a bit later stage, but that's very few. So most of my investments have been in early stages where it's either pre-seed or seed rounds.
Got it. That's awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for walking us through this entire journey. We have one more round here, which is the rapid fire round. No wrong answers. First thought that comes to your mind. So favorite cricketer?
Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Favorite cricket brand?
7.
Okay. I know you're an all-rounder, so batting or bowling?
Oof. Whatever the team needs to win.
Any favorite entrepreneurs or ones you look up to?
Yeah, Elon Musk.
Nice. Best book you've read, or I'm an audiobook listener, so listen to in 2023.
There is a book that I highly recommend all entrepreneurs to read called Traction.
Okay.
And it changed the way you think about entrepreneurship and changes the way how you think about your business and how you just want to grow. So Traction is one of the books that I'll highly recommend.
Awesome. Any pro tip for cricketers?
Good question. Learn always look to improve, always look to cultivate your skill and do what the team needs in the role that you're assigned. Execute the role. Like, I think it comes down to, all the learning comes down to how well you can execute, and don't give any excuses. So the one thing that I've seen in a lot of the associate cricket is easy to fall back on excuses. Don't execute. Like, learn to execute. And again, if you can't, there's another day. You got to come back and like execute again, right? So that would be my tip to cricketers. And be passionate about it, man. If you're passionate about it, then I think it'll work out.
I wouldn't have expected anything different from you on that one, because I've seen many times when you've come into bat, way lower than you should be, but then won the game for the team just off the back of being in there, right? So I wouldn't have expected anything different.
Appreciate it.
Pro tip for entrepreneurs.
Good one. There are so many. That's what I'm thinking.
Feel free to list multiple.
Yeah, man. For entrepreneurs, I think the one that got to me was, growth is cyclical. Everything that grows has a glass ceiling. And this is what actually us as founders, we're learning. Every stage has a growth limit. And you have to be able to pivot at that stage. When you reach the ceiling, you have to learn that, okay, you've reached the ceiling. And you have to learn to pivot from when you reach something to, in order for you to grow more.
The next step.
So everything, like right from the early traction to customer, like early adopters saying this is amazing, that has a ceiling where they, like, you'll only find a few early adopters that are going to bear with your software bugging out or like your hardware not working. Then from there on, you move on to like early customers, which have a ceiling. From there, you move on to like, your first 10 million ARR, then you 50 million ARR, 100 million ARR. At any given milestone, there is a ceiling, an upper echelon. So my one feedback to entrepreneurs would be, learn when, or like identify when that ceiling has reached, and what do you do now, right? So you have to learn that, and that's what pivots are. Those are what, like, when you say pivot strategy or whatever, go to market strategy, or like your product roadmap, anything, right? So that's what it is. It's like when you learn that, okay, I've reached my limit, I've reached my threshold, what do I do now? So I would highly encourage entrepreneurs to cultivate that skill set and never give up, man. Never effing give up. Like, you're an entrepreneur because you're a different breed. You're a mutant. You're like a different breed. So then don't give up. Like, come back, fight harder. There's always another day, always another person, always another financier, always another backer. Like, there are always people that are going to support you, right? So never give up. That would be my life lesson to entrepreneurs.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Kumar, for your time. Again, I know you're a busy guy. This was an incredible interview where I got to learn a ton. I'm sure the listeners will as well. Anything you want to add before we sign off? Whether it's about Cayman, Acto, anything we should know.
Yeah, Anish, thank you so much, man, for having me on this podcast. First of all, I respect, the respect is mutual. I respect everything that you have done in cricket in Canada, and everything that you've done, like even with ProTip and what you're planning to do with this. I wish you the best, and happy to help you, and in whatever form I could. With respect to Cayman and Acto, look, I'm always going to be passionate about cricket. I'm always going to be passionate about equality, gender equality, and geo equality. And with Acto, we're looking to change lives through tech in the life sciences industry. So we're always going to be passionate about that. I just want to be a good, leader, good father, good entrepreneur, good, friend to, guys like you. And hopefully, as I share my stories, people can learn not to make the same mistakes that we did,
Yeah.
or make the mistakes, but also like move on from them. So
Yeah.
that's the intent. And yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share my piece.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anytime. And if you're welcome back anytime as well.
Appreciate that.
So thanks a lot.